All right, so in this video, we're going to discuss what we call inversions, basically variations of the chords you've already learned to play. So what we've learned so far is the basic triad version of the chord. So if we're looking at this little keyboard up here and we know we're starting in the key of C, we know that C is going to be the first note of the chord of major C because C is the root of the chords. C being the key that we're playing in would be the root. We skip a note, which in reality is the fourth semitone up. So if we start with C sharp, there is C, then 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives us the middle note of the major chord. Then 1, 2, 3 gives us the third note of the chord. So that's the major chord for C. So we're playing C, E, and G. But we don't always have to play it exactly like that. So I want to show you, looking at sheet music, what those notes would look like, and then I'll show you a demonstration on how to play different versions of the chords. So let's start with C, since that's the one we're most familiar with, and we'll start with a note of C. Now, if we wanted to play the chord for C, the standard triad, we simply go from C up to white notes, which would be E, that's the fourth semitone up from C, and then go to the third semitone up from E, which would be the G note. So we play those three notes together. That is simply the triad for the major chord of C. Same thing with the left hand. We've learned you can just play the root note of the chord an octave lower. So we could play just those four notes, and that would accomplish the chord and get the sound a little fuller. But if we wanted to add the left-hand triad to the whole configuration, we could do that. And we could simply do C, E, and G, just like we did with the right hand. We could do that with the left hand as well and play 6 notes. You're playing 2 of each note, just an octave away from each other, to give it a little fuller sound. But you can play these in different orders in order to get even different sounds with the same 3 notes. Now, what we can do is flip this configuration. This is called Inversion One. So what happens here is, instead of the C being the lowest note in the chord, C becomes the highest note in the chord. We're still playing the same G and E as we played in the standard triad. We're just moving from C being at the bottom of the stack to putting C at the top of the stack, playing C an octave higher. Just gives it a little different sound, a little higher tone when you play it. You could also do the same thing with the left hand. And again, this is called Inversion One. The major difference is, instead of the root note being at the bottom of the stack of notes, Inversion One puts the root note at the top of the stack of notes. So it starts C as the highest note, and then the G and the E stay as they were in the basic triad. Another version of this is called Inversion Two. The way I remember this is C gets stuck in the middle of the notes. So version 2, C becomes in the second position either way you look at it. The E becomes higher than C, and the G is below the C. So the C is sandwiched in the middle of the other 2 notes. And you could play it up higher, or you could play it lower. We could do it with the left hand down with middle C, middle E, and then G below middle C with the left hand. In either case, you'll notice the C is sandwiched in between the E and the G for the left hand and for the right hand. Again, that's called Inversion 2. Basically, the root note is second in position, either direction you're going with that, in the configuration of notes. The most common way of playing this is the basic triad with the right hand, and then Inversion 2 with the left hand. So you could mix them up a little bit if you wanted to. I've seen this as a pretty common way of playing the configuration, but you could also flip them even further and play Inversion 1 with the right hand and Inversion 2 with the left hand. You can play around with these and get whatever kind of sound you want out of it. But I just wanted to show you quickly in this video that there are lots of ways of playing the C chord, and you're going to find that that is very true on the guitar especially, but we'll save that for that lesson later down the road. Right now, I want you to focus on the piano and realize you're not stuck playing just the basic triad of the major chord. You can flip these notes all around and play them with the right hand and left hand and different variations of how these notes are configured. So I just wanted to show you that you could flip these all around and play them in all kinds of different configurations. You can even play them with minor chords as well. So try this out, tinker around with it a little bit, and see what kind of different sounds you can create using different variations of these chords. So I'll show you a little demonstration so that you can play along with me and see what this actually sounds like. All right, so let's look at some of the inversion stuff we were just talking about. And I'm going to play the standard C chord in just basic triad form in both the right hand and the left hand. So that's the sound we get when we play that chord. Now, if we want to change this around a little bit and do inversion 1 of the C chord with the right hand, what that means, instead of playing this C, we're going to need to play that C. So we're just going to move these fingers up and catch the same 3 notes. So instead of it sounding like this, it's going to sound like, have a little higher pitch there, with the C being up here instead of down here at middle C. It's going to be an octave higher on this C. So that's inversion 1 of the chord. Now we can also do an inversion 2. We're still going to use the G note, the C note, and the E note. We're just going to put the C in the middle of the configuration. And that's what that configuration sounds like. Any way you go with it is going to be the same exact notes. It's just going to be a matter of a little bit different sound. So here it is in basic triad. Here we are in inversion 1 and in inversion 2. Same notes, just a little bit different positioning. So you can also do the same thing with the left hand. What a lot of people like to do is they play the right hand in standard triad form and then play either inversion 1 or inversion 2 with the left hand. So what that would look like is this. So this would be inversion 2 because the C is in the middle of everything. And this is what that would sound like with the right and left hand together. So it just gives you a nice full sound. It changes the configuration a little bit of how you play the notes. And as you begin learning to play notes, you may find that playing in one version of that configuration is easier to play the notes you want to play than another version of it. So you'll have to make that choice. But these are just some options of how you can play your chords in different what we call inversions. That's again inversion 2 with C in the middle, inversion 1 with C on the top, and standard triad is the C down here on the bottom. Same will be true for every other key and every other chord on the keyboard.